know you're very involved with spoken word, getting young people together to express themselves, using your talent as an artist to really drive change in a fun kind of way. I mean, driving change in a fun kind of way. That's what young people, they don't want all stodgy things, right?
Yes.
So how's that working here in Hamilton? What kind of platform are you creating to use that, that vehicle, that genre?
Well, I've been really, I've been fortunate in some ways. In particular, I have a young daughter who is now 15, who has entered the terrible teens. Terrible twos didn't count at all compared to this, but no, that's not true. She's fabulous. And in her teens, she's also helping me to discover new ways of expressing the art forms that I once found very dear, but now they're exploding. I worked with Lillian Allen in Toronto and area on dub poetry, and dub has, you know, taken on new forms. Rap and hip hop has moved into that culture, and now spoken word has, you know, become the kind of explosive format and the explosive form that we use now.
So you talk about rap, you talk about spoken word, you know, as a white woman, right?
Yes.
Here you are talking about these new young people's genre. How are you accepted in that world? I mean, there's a certain perception that it's only a certain group of people who are in that genre of work.
Right.
So how do you fit in?
Well, interestingly, the young people have very little issue with me as part of that genre. Folks who have issue with it are often, more often than not, other white people, but more often it's a concern for older folks, because there has been, and you know, to my shame and embarrassment too, not that I can take responsibility for all white people, but so often black people are asked to, so you know, I'll take it on. But so often I think that many cultural forms have been appropriated and stolen, and I mean, we have all of those examples of, you know, Elvis Presley, you watch Dreamgirls, you watch Cadillac Records, you know, Big Mama Thornton, and all of the people whose work was never celebrated in the way that it ought to have been. And so people do have some trepidation about sharing these, whether it's music or art form or theater or spoken word expression. I think the difference for me is that I come to any platform, to any area that I'm working with, whether it's with young people or adults or little children, with a sense of wonderment and awe, and a sense that we must have things that we can share, that we can excite each other about, and that we can learn from each other. So I never walk into a situation assuming the notion of expert. I'm there to facilitate.
Oh, that's a very refreshing thing to hear.
Yeah.
You're there to learn.
Yeah, I'm there to learn, to facilitate, and yes, to value, indeed. Because one of the things that I learned in Regent Park was, you know, there but for the grace of that experience in London, Ontario.